Okay. Let's see. Gold digger.
I like a
Well,
hard-working partner.
I love
If they're if
Yay.
they're bringing home the money.
I love Yay. That's not controversial, right? That's like one of
Yeah.
that's like one of
Who?
3 songs by Kanye that I enjoy.
Who?
Gold
Kanye.
digger.
Who? Yeah,
Um,
I don't
Kanye.
understand. I don't understand simple pop culture references. I'd say it's not often.
You think of
If
gold diggers? We're not saying Kanye West is gold digger, the song itself. We're saying
No,
gold
we
digger.
have the category.
That's a deal breaker. What? This isn't
Yeah, I
a
was,
debate. What the fuck?
yeah, my bad. I wasn't paying attention. I was thinking of the song. I literally just was like, yeah, we're not talking about the song. Yeah, an actual gold digger, deal breaker.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. It's your boy Platypus. This is Unfiltered Pineapple, and I'm joined with Orik and Dean. We are going to finish what we started with our tier list. Actually, a lot's kind of happened since we dropped off last time.
If we're gonna finish what we started, like past relationships.
Exactly.
Don't leave any stone unturned. Yeah.
But yeah, like one of us went ahead and got married while we took a break. I went
Spontaneous
to
as hell. Was not planned at all either. No.
Yeah, was able to check off all the red flags. Nothing stick.
Right
Nothing
away.
stuck. So it was a drive-through wedding.
Pro dating advice here. If this list is completed on the first date, then that's who you're marrying. So, no, that was planned, obviously. Sorry, Platypus. Didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. You're good. You're good. I was gonna say I also went to Texas, if that counts, but just piling on the list of things that happen. Obviously, not as big a deal as an impromptu marriage, but you know.
Yeah. Actually, you know what was more impromptu was another person in the group a couple years ago because they were planning like 8 months later, and they said, "Nah, we'll just do it in 2 months from now." Anyways, yeah. So we put back together the list. We're putting the band back together. Right where we left off. Yeah, anyone have any insights or commentary before we begin again? We do have the golden... I don't know what we're calling it. Yeah, I was going to say buzzer also.
We'll call it the golden buzzer.
It's not Jeopardy, but yeah, we all have a golden buzzer where we can put one in any category we want, and the other two cannot object to it. So smoking is still high on my list. Yeah, other than that, I guess we'll get started again. Anyone have any other comments?
Nada.
Alrighty. All right, so first one on the list is no motivation in life. Red flag. Well, again, audio for people just listening. The categories are deal breaker, bad but manageable, not awful. This is an issue? Question mark. Like, why is this even on the list? Why is this even considered a red flag? Doesn't really matter. Kind of a good thing for red flags, and definitely a good thing, which I guess just means it's something you want. Nothing is.
That's the red flag. That's a good sign.
Yeah. Where some people, I guess, think it's a bad thing, but it's actually not. But it's not an issue also. It's not an issue. It is something that's good. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Hopefully we can add something in those categories. But no motivation in life. Platypus, you're pretty good at this. Where should we put this?
No motivation. Yeah. Let me think. That's actually a tricky one.
I'll come back to you in like a week. I'm just kidding.
I mean, that's definitely not a good thing, but it's not necessarily going to be a deal breaker. I guess it depends on how bad the situation is, but I feel like sometimes everyone kind of needs a periodic kick in the ass to get back into gear.
Yeah,
So if it's
I guess a
yeah,
good question is, what do you encompass in your head when you hear no motivation in life? Do you think that's a momentary thing, or like they have no big long-term goals, or they're just going whatever?
Emotions.
They have no ambition. Yeah,
Whatever
it
you
doesn't say
say
no
brings.
ambition. It does
Yeah.
say no motivation. So I'm thinking that means like, let's say depression, or they're at a really low point, but it's not that they're not ambitious. How do you guys interpret that?
that's basically how I interpret it. I'm not really thinking of like their ambitions. I'm interpreting it as like they're in a slump or dealing with some shit and maybe like staying in bed too long or something along those
Okay,
lines.
yeah, they're starting to struggle, maybe a death in the family or something like that. They're just like, or they lost their pet after 13 years, something like that.
Yeah, I mean that's understandable. So I guess maybe it's not the result of like a trauma or traumatizing event, but that's just like what they're doing at the time. I don't know. I'm picturing like a depressive slump type thing, which if it's not
I
permanent, or sorry, what were you gonna say?
Sorry to interrupt. I don't see it as a depressive slump. I don't see it as depression related. The way I see no motivation in life really is just like they go through the motions and they don't have any they like you said, they may have ambition, but they don't have any strive for it. Like there's nothing to push them towards ambition. It doesn't mean they're depressed. They just because you can have people that have no motivation that are just focused on their next paycheck day to day. But they're not depressed. They're not upset. They're just short term focused. What's next? That's all they can spend time on. So
So in that
those are
case, you
kind of the
are seeing
people.
it as ambition, drive.
Maybe a little bit. I might associate it more with burnout in that context than depression. That's how I'm more looking at it. That probably explains it better.
Either way, I think we're all on the same kind of line. Um, for definitely first impressions slash first dates, whatever this red flag tier list is based off of first couple dates, the first general phase of meeting someone. I would put that in doesn't really matter, personally. Where do you guys stand?
I
Now,
think
this
yeah.
will come up with further discussion and maybe make a decision off of that. But initially, kind of like Platypus said, some people just have really bad days or weeks or months. So it's just kind of like that. And sometimes your ambitions do go on hold when you're either trying to recover from something traumatic or you're just in a slump because you've been doing the same thing for 6 years. You're like, man, what do I want to change? How do I want to change? Something like that.
I would say not awful.
Not awful. Where do you put it, Platypus?
I could agree with not awful because I'm thinking somewhere between this is an issue and deal breaker.
Well,
'Cause I
this
don't
is an issue. Is like this isn't the neutral zone. This should be like just off the chart, like a separate chart. So it'd be not awful or doesn't really matter.
Well, it's somewhere between good and bad. Like it could be a sign of bad things to come. It also might not be like, since it could lead to bad things. I'd say it's a potential issue, but it's not like a deal breaker at all.
That makes sense. It's definitely more negative connotation. Okay. Next, car fanatic.
This is an issue.
I mean, there are people that that will marry their cars,
Oh yeah, that's right.
or they have
There's
like a dozen car projects that they're constantly. But that's a hobby. If
or
they start neglecting family and friends and stuff for the car, that's one thing. That's an addiction. As a car fanatic, this is an issue.
Yeah,
I guess I'd be stuck on where the fanatic is. Is that in the sense of an obsession, or is that just like I have this car that's just for me. I don't want anyone else in my
Or
family to
someone
drive in
that's
it.
just super enthusiastic about different types of Beetle cars.
They go to car shows for fun. Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess that's what I need to
they
know.
go to
Is
conventions. Yeah,
are we associating this with addiction or just like
it's fanatic. It doesn't say
like a
addiction.
Star?
like a fun. They just love cars.
They
type
love
of
cars.
like
That's what they geek out on. Yeah, if they geek out on that, it doesn't
Like they
really
love a
matter.
certain animal, they love a certain actor, they just love a certain car, types of cars in general. Yeah, it's just a fanatic.
They just geek out. Okay, yeah, this isn't an issue. This
Horror
is a, doesn't really,
movies, kind of a
Yeah,
good
it
thing.
doesn't really matter. Sure,
I'm
either
gonna
that
say
or
kind of a good thing.
yeah, like that. I don't see how that's really a problem.
I'm not a huge fanatic of horror films. I watched a good number of horror films, seen a good with plenty of them with our friends, and we got Noodles to turn into a horror movie fanatic himself. After being petrified by it for years, after years of peer pressure,
he's climbed up walls in fear before. It's great.
Yeah. But now he's just sitting there watching them middle of the night. I say kind of a good thing. It could be this is an issue ? But I think horror movies is not a red flag. Really, I think that's kind of a good thing because one, they probably would be wanting. It's something you both can do to spend time together and watch something. It gives you something that kind of updates regularly with media and like, here's a new one that comes out. You can discuss it. There's different avenues that you could talk about movies in general. I think this is on the easier side or nicer side to give something in these better two things zones on the chart. And I kind of like horror movies. It gives you a reason to be spending quality time together on the couch.
I would say kind of a good thing, but for a different reason. Now, obviously, there's some people that can't handle horror movies at all. They can't stand anything scary or frightening. Obviously, this isn't for them. But that's why I'd say it's kind of a good thing because to watch a horror movie, especially one that will actually scare you or frighten you, and to do it with someone else is for a lot of people a bonding activity because you get immersed in the movie. And then suddenly your form of comfort is the person next to you who's also helping, quote unquote, get you through it. So it can be a good bonding exercise, or it could be a good, like, I don't know, way to click with someone about things that you both are interested in or not interested in. But if it's not a kind of a good thing, I'd put it in the doesn't really matter category.
All right, Platypus, we're cornering you again.
Fuck.
Doesn't really matter. Kind of a good thing. Why? Why not?
Maybe it doesn't really matter. I personally don't care. That seems the most neutral of the two, so I could go with that.
Alrighty. iFunny user.
I mean, it can't be worse than Twitter, right?
Yeah.
I don't. Is that actually a problem?
No,
This is an issue?
Weird. ?
Yeah,
it's weird that you would actually know someone who's an iFunny user. I have never met someone yet. But Twitter user.
It's appropriate.
Let's see, where do we put this?
I mean, it's just not the best platform, but I mean, I've met sane individuals that use it. I don't know. It feels like the internet equivalent of going to the chum bucket, but you do you.
No, not the chum bucket. The chum bucket never gets any visitors. It's like that smoothie shop that opened up across the street. That one
kelp
episode.
shakes.
Yeah, kelp shakes. There you go. It's like that.
By the way, go ahead and follow us on Twitter if you're listening.
Might as well.
Yeah, what he said. So where do you put Twitter user?
It still shouldn't be an issue. I mean,
oh, not an issue, just something that like everyone has, even though I'm pretty sure not one of us three have a Twitter.
Well, I mean, because I've never had a shitty experience with someone, and then afterwards been like, they were definitely on Twitter. So
that is 100% someone who goes on Twitter 2 hours a day. All right, we'll just put it. This is an issue. This category is going to be massive. Has a very specific coffee order.
Real quick, the only thing I'll say bad about Twitter user, but this applies to any social media, is if you're with someone who's new and they're immediately starting to post about you two as a couple on social media, or maybe they're already searching through your Twitter and other social media to look up who you are in history, those are separate red flags, but that's not what we're trying to talk about here. We're just strictly talking about someone who opens up the app and uses it.
Yeah. Okay. Has a very specific coffee order. As an individual,
bad but manageable.
I haven't really come across this before. Out in the wild. I mean,
I've encountered many generic coffee drinkers, but not ones with very specific, probably more
costly
orders.
Not even specific, very specific.
You know, like this wasn't even a problem back when I worked at Dunkin's. I really don't know. Uh, I could see it being annoying. I just haven't experienced this before, so
I mean, you'd
I
probably
don't
get
really
into a
care.
routine of waking up and looking at the tattoo on your forearm, being like, all right, I need a special latte with, I don't even know. I don't drink coffee. I don't know. 2 squirts of white stuff, some caramel squirt, cream on top. I don't know how you make coffee.
Banana slices, a piece of coconut just shoved in there. Yeah.
Half a
No,
pineapple wedge. Yeah, just put that. I don't know what people put in their coffees, but
some chum bucket
it's probably
chum.
not cheap either. And as a man who's frugal, that doesn't mean cheap. Frugal means using money wisely.
There is a difference.
Yeah, I'd
What?
say. But everyone is allowed to have their own vices and pleasures. Like, I eat vanilla wafers once a month. I buy a box just because I like them.
I'd say it's not awful. I would say this is not awful.
Yeah, I put not awful.
It works for me.
All right, DC fans.
Like DC Comics?
Yeah, because next is Marvel.
Or Washington D.C. Which one are we talking about?
I say kind of a good thing.
That's kind of a good thing.
Yeah, I'm a DC fan. Definitely a good thing or kind of a good thing?
I mean, I've always been into comics and stuff, so I'm biased.
Same. And this is our tier list, so I don't give a crap.
Right.
Oh, is that your golden buzzer?
No. I say kind of a good thing. I'm susceptible to definitely a good thing, just to put something in there.
I'd say kind of a good thing.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, I guess we're all in agreement there. Marvel fans?
I'd say the same in spite of...
Yeah, we're not trying to...
War.
Yeah, let's not start a war on this.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
Marvel's a tier lower than DC.
That's a separate tier list.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That is ranking the heroes. But my favorite characters come out of DC.
That's fair.
Yeah. So I'm also privy towards DC over Marvel, but I like Marvel just as much. So, Harry Potter fan.
I'd say the same thing.
Kind of a good thing.
I'm biased. I grew up on that shit.
I did too. I remember when the books would come out in school, and it's like you reserved them when you had to go to library for your in between classes or something for English class, and you make reservations. I was like, I'm first on the list for the new book when it comes out.
Yep. I liked the books and the movies.
But I'm not a Harry Potter fanatic or someone who's obsessed with it this long after. I do watch a couple YouTube channels that regularly enough give, like, here's a theory about Harry Potter books that you may not have thought of, like, 10 years later, and it's like they're connecting these dots that were just very deep and not really thought out, but the evidence is pretty good. It's entertaining.
What? Like Slytherin has a meth lab down there somewhere?
No, like how, like background story plot, like how things actually happen by connecting these loose, briefly talked about threads or memories and being like, this is how things actually connected. So it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Like how.
One thing I want to say about Harry Potter real quick is I'd say it's kind of a good thing. And granted, we grew up with this as it was developing, but I recently was talking to a couple coworkers at lunch. One of them, he's in his, I want to say, late 30s, 40s, somewhere around there. And he's got a young kid, around 5, 6, 7. And he never read or watched any Harry Potter stuff. But he's gotten his kid into it, reading the first book or two with them. And he's like, yeah, even at 40, I'm really starting to love this series. It's got all the right vibes. My daughter's loving it. So just on the fact that an entirely different generation is able to enjoy it for the same reason and discover it at that same pace, I'd say it's kind of a good thing or a definite good thing.
Yeah.
The same thing can be said for Lord of the Rings and Star Wars fans with those books and movies.
Yeah, I don't even like Lord of the Rings, but I still think it should be there.
I agree. Probably of all 5 of these things, Lord of the Rings is near the bottom of my list of these 5 in order of preference, but I respect and appreciate it if that's what someone's thing is to enjoy and watch and read about or that inspired them growing up. Cool.
Lord of the Rings, another side story. There's a lot of grown, not even with the Amazon Rings of Power thing out or all the other like spin-offs people are trying to make. The main series alone has like generations of fandoms. It's been around for so long. It's
Yeah.
hard to find people like Lord of the Rings that are like horrible people. Because it's all nerds and geeks that enjoyed it, so they all have a passion for it, which is why it's still positive.
And they're all supportive in the community. Typically, they don't just yeah.
Yeah.
Band
So,
kid.
I don't see how that should be a problem. I mean, I used to be a band kid, so I guess I'm biased again, but
we have a couple people in the group that were. Noodles was.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
you
hate
know to
I
play an
hate
instrument.
band kids. They're so cocky. They're so good
Yep,
looking.
exactly.
Yeah. Sorry, what? Yeah, we'll put it this as
Yeah.
an issue. Just because someone did band in high school or middle school or college, whatever, that's their sport. They had fun. That was their little clique, their community that they were part of, a skill they were practicing, finessing. What's wrong with that?
And is not a sport. All right, next controversy. Let's go.
Yeah. Favorite response is I don't care. Personally,
You do
being
this all
friends
the
with
time.
Matt. Yeah, that doesn't phase me. I'd probably put it like doesn't really matter, but it depends on like I guess how they say it or how often they say it.
Yeah, that's the thing for me. It depends on like the context and the frequency.
Because I say it regularly enough, and then I give an answer immediately after. They're like, "What do you want to do about this?" And I'm like, when I say I don't care, I mean I'm completely indifferent in this moment, and if I have to give an answer because I know there will be a follow up, here's my answer. So I use it as shorthand for that.
Yeah, but no, but it's like if you just tell your significant other that you just fractured your femur and you're in the hospital and then they say, I don't care, like that hits different. It just depends.
That sounds like a very specific situation.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
All right.
Yeah.
Sounds like broken bones and a broken heart.
Well, yeah, your heart's made of bones. What else? That's
I
why
would say it's not awful.
That's why it hurts when
It,
it
it,
breaks.
I'm gonna say it's not awful just because it's situational. If you have people who are genuinely indifferent or sarcastic, I don't care is gonna be very common. If you have someone who depressed, they may say I don't care because they got low motivation. There's a lot of factors that influence it. So I'll just say it's not awful.
I guess it depends on the nuance. I'll agree with that. Probably it connotatively is more negative, but if people use it properly, or you know the individual well, you know that its subtext is not actually they don't care. But all right, overly quirky.
What does that mean exactly? Because that could be a fucking problem.
Someone who's quirky.
Oh, you got to be quirky over there. Come here.
Well, I mean, there's a fine line between like charming and just it's not amusing.
Well, there's a difference between quirky and being eccentric. Eccentric is obviously one of the most famous eccentrics is like Albert Einstein. He was famous for having an eccentric personality where he did his own thing and people just let him do his thing because that's what he was passionate about, focused on, couldn't be distracted from. Quirky is just, at least the way I understand it, people just have like tics, not like Tourette's, but like they just have these like small things they do throughout the day that are just odd. They're enough that they're charming and cute at first, but they're just odd. They're behavioral things. Um, that's my understanding of what this means.
Trying to look up the definition of quirky versus eccentric. They're kind of similar, but quirky is characterized by peculiar or unexpected traits. Eccentric is more on the extreme of that thing, where they will be acting on those behaviors more. Unconventional and slightly strange behaviors. I don't know. We kind of know what quirky is, but I don't know the real definition of it.
Well, if it's overly, that implies an issue. Like
Yeah, it might be a little bit excessive unless you're prepared for it. Kind of like, I'm not gonna say an addiction. I don't want to compare quirky people to an addiction, but they probably have something that's like every Thursday you have to wear a duck costume when they go out to a bar because they just really like this one bar that has like a cosplay thing, or maybe like every Tuesday night they watch Friends.
They have to mow the lawn. You can only do the left half first.
Yeah. You can only eat. They have to eat pizza crust first. You want someone that eats crust first for your pizza?
Can we put that on this tier list somehow? If I saw that,
Eats crust
that's not on the list below. If you have someone who's eating pizza crust first, that's bad but manageable.
I was just talking about the end pieces, but does that mean the bottom too? I don't know.
Yeah, no, like you grab it from the center of the pizza and you're eating it from the outside in.
It's like the opposite of keto. Overly quirky, bad but manageable, not awful. Where do you guys stand?
I say it doesn't really matter.
Doesn't really matter.
I'd say there has to be some sort of negativity attached to it, just because it's overly.
Overly? So we'll both go with not awful then. All right. TikTok user. Again, as none of us are TikTok users, and we have a couple friends who shall not be named. I almost
Just
did.
Very disappointed.
Yeah, I almost did for fun. Throw them under the bus. TikTok users. It's too late now to be a hater of TikTok. Everyone uses it. And when it was first blowing up, it's like, oh, you like TikTok? It was easy to like make fun of it. Now everyone just kind of uses it.
I'd say this is an issue ?
Yeah,
depends on what it depends on how you're trying to make it an issue.
Yeah, I'll say this is an issue. Depends on what they're doing. Most people just go on there and browse, so it's whatever. Always needs new iPhone.
Doesn't really matter, I guess.
I said deal breaker.
I would say bad but manageable.
Well, in question, is this a brand thing
Yeah,
or a
always needs new iPhone. They need the newest iPhone every year. They got to get that.
Or twice a year.
Got to get that. Got to get that.
Or were you looking at this as though they break their phone and they got to get a new one?
I was thinking of it as their phone's fine. It's just the newer model just dropped.
That's what we were thinking
That's
too.
exactly what it is. So yeah, deal breaker.
I'd say
That's a
bad but
deal
manageable.
That's more
The
of
fact
a
that they're
that's
willing
really-
to, the fact that they're willing to waste or quote unquote spend their money on the inferior piece of technology year after year.
Okay, wait a minute. So what would this go under if it was Galaxy or Pixel?
Bad but manageable.
Yeah, bad but manageable. Honestly, it wouldn't be deal breaker. It's just because it's an iPhone. It'd be bad but manageable. There's no reason to get the new phone every year.
No, there isn't.
Yeah. Unless you like run a tech channel, you're just super passionate about tech. But most people that get the new iPhones, they're not doing that.
Or especially if they change their number every time they get the new phone. That's
What the hell? Why would
There's people
you
that
know
do
someone?
there's people that do that. They get the new phone every year and they change their number every year. Then they have
I
to
know
get all
some-
their
I-
contacts back.
I know someone that does that.
Oh,
Yeah, bad but
Like,
manageable. That's
if
my.
that does it for them. Whatever.
All right.
Cool.
I'm put in the middle there, between Platypus and I, so bad but manageable. Types in all lowercase. I mean, it's one thing if it's like filling out an important document, but I'm assuming they're just like texting like that. Like they turned off autocorrect. Who cares?
Does it really matter to me?
Yeah, this is an
Oh,
issue.
No,
We're
not
not
an
that
issue.
much of grammar Nazis. We are grammar Nazis typically, but
For
no,
fun. For
yeah,
fun.
I'm fine with not with font. Yeah, makes TikToks. So we have a friend.
That we do.
I doubt he'll listen to this episode.
Yes, I guess we can't feel that so strongly about it.
Doesn't really matter. I guess it depends on the kind of TikToks.
Yeah. How garbage is a content
They
type
could,
of deal.
yeah. Are we dealing with someone who just has no creativity or personality? I really don't want to be with someone or in the background of someone doing that.
Nope.
No. So what do you say? Doesn't really matter. Not an issue. Not awful.
I'd say it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Again,
Because
people.
there's a lot of people that make TikToks just to share with friends and family. They're not
Yeah,
trying
it's
to go
just social
viral.
media. They're just
Yeah,
having fun.
yeah. Good morning, kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, or showcasing their dog or something. It's whatever. Okay. Quote TikToks in real life.
I
Kind
mean,
of falls under doesn't understand simple pop culture references, but kind of similar to that.
yeah, but I don't know. TikTok's not as old as a lot of those aforementioned
That we
references.
grew up on that are typically jokester references. It's not just like something funny for the week.
Yeah.
I'd say not awful. If
Yeah.
it's their passion and they enjoy it and they're on there and then they have a joke of the week, that's fine. It's not the greatest thing to me, but I can get it behind a good joke or a good quote. There's no harm in it.
None of that devious licks shit.
Mm-hmm. ROTC YMCA.
Same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that's not offensive.
I don't see it.
Yeah.
I don't understand that.
I don't know what the acronym stands for, but ROTC is those Army and training things, usually at universities. So they before classes.
Military stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm saying this is an issue. Doesn't matter to me, but maybe you don't want someone who intends to serve in the country after they get their education or something.
That's a lifestyle choice.
It
though.
is a
That's not
lifestyle
really-
choice.
That's not like a red flag. It's a red flag in the terms of like you're planning your future lifestyle. Yes.
I would say it doesn't really matter personally. It doesn't matter to me. It may matter to someone. It doesn't matter to me.
That's where I stand.
Okay. Disrespects animals.
That's a deal breaker.
I mean, are we calling ants and spiders animals?
Well, I guess it depends on that definition. But
I mean, are they burning ants?
well, no, that's
They're mercifully stepping on them. They're mercifully stepping on them.
Yeah, it's giving them a beneficial death as opposed to being eaten alive. Anyways.
I mean, he's like torturing spiders or something, and it's like, why is Junior torturing spiders? I don't even like spiders.
Why are you dating a junior?
Oh yeah, I guess this is red flags for dating. Well, then not a junior,
No,
obviously.
If they're an adult and they're still doing it.
Yeah, that's concerning. Either way.
Well, actually, it'd probably be a deal breaker because most likely they mean like pets and stuff. So they're probably like pushing your pet aside, or I don't want to say kicking them, but you don't know whatever disrespect means for an animal.
Yeah, that's mostly how I pictured it, was mistreatment of pets and stuff.
Orik?
No, I already said that. I agree. It's a deal breaker.
My bad, I didn't hear you. Straight black coffee.
We have some stories.
like
We have
how
some
I like
stories
my-
about that.
Yeah, just like how I like my men. That's a joke. That's what the punchline for dating apps. You have to be like my coffee.
I mean, I saw a picture like that, but it didn't end that way. It said something like, I like my coffee how I like my women,
Yeah,
without other guys'
Without
dicks.
other guys' dicks in it, yeah.
Yeah, it's a solid policy.
Straight
Wait,
black coffee. This is an issue. It's just their taste.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does that? Whatever. I don't get how that's even on here.
Yeah, that's. I don't know. It's maybe contrary to the very specific coffee order, because straight black is the other end of that. Subpar hygiene.
That's
It says
What is-
subpar. It's not bad hygiene. It's just subpar. They're lacking. I'd say not awful.
Either that or bad but manageable.
Yeah. As someone who's very clean and hygienic, that bothers me. I don't want to deal with like clothes all over the ground or messes on like the counter in the bathroom that weren't cleaned.
Or BO.
Yeah.
Excessive BO anyway.
Yeah.
We're talking subpar. So
Yeah,
that
it's
means
not
just
bad.
just
It's not
below.
horrible. It's just
Yeah.
like a little bit like noticeable, like not like what would be the average person's, like a little bit lackluster.
So that's not awful. If it's anything less, it becomes like very bad but manageable very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Nicknames like Bay.
That's
What are you
favorite.
thinking? What are you thinking, Bay?
Fuck.
Platypus.
He responded first too.
Platypus, what do you think?
I mean, that's technically not. That's not awful, I guess.
Not awful. You don't like nicknames? Babe, baby, Bay. What is a non-B nickname? Bitch. My bad. That starts with B. What are the nicknames? Love, honey, sugar.
Girl.
What'd you say? Feral?
Feral?
What'd you say? Hey, Feral, how you doing? How's work?
I said girl.
Girl, yeah. Yeah, I don't think I can't speak for all women. I don't think their partner walking up to them and being like, "Hey, girl, how you doing?" Like I feel like that's a little disrespectful at that point in the relationship, even if just starting out.
Here, darling, sweetie.
Yes, you don't like nicknames, Platypus?
Tulip, petunia,
Eh,
butterscotch, pork chop.
Honey Boo Boo.
I know someone who calls their wife pork chop.
I've heard that too. Where do you stand, Orik? Not awful.
Not awful.
Platypus?
I guess that'll work.
I will leave it there. I would say like doesn't really matter. I'm fine with it. It's kind of just a personal connection between the two. You know, if that's what you guys agree on doing, that's fine. It's just your own little talk. Speaking of talking, always talking about exes.
Best case, that's bad but manageable.
I was just going to say, best case is bad but manageable, but realistically, it's probably a deal breaker.
Yeah.
Well, in what context?
Always talking about exes. What context do you fucking need?
Are they talking about why you're better than them, or why
It
they
doesn't
left
matter.
them, or
It doesn't matter. They are constantly bringing up their exes.
That's a problem.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what the
Anyway.
context is. Just almost everything. You're also like, I mean, imagine yourself dating or just meeting this person, and it's been like a month or 2 months, and they're still talking about their previous relationships and their exes. Doesn't matter what the context is or what the question was. They're constantly bringing up their ex somehow.
Yeah, I'd say it's bad but manageable. I wouldn't say it's an immediate deal breaker, though. That's what I'm getting at.
Well, on a first date, bad but manageable or something. But if this is consistent for the entire like first initial phase of feeling each other out, it's a deal breaker. They're not over it. They've got a lot of processing. They're still not doing. You can keep talking maybe, but nothing's gonna move on until they
And-
stop talking about their ex.
I get what you're saying, but I assure you, bad but manageable. We could go into a deep discussion about this, but there's a difference between someone being like not over their past relationship and someone trying to process and get through their past relationships to be with someone now. So in the sense of like we've talked about with other things, in the sense that someone's trying to get some growth and move on, they may need someone who they can rely on to talk to move past what they've been through in their past. In that case, I'd say it's bad but manageable without like marking everything as one category. But otherwise, yeah, in the context you're talking about, deal breaker.
In the context of the words themselves, always talking about exes. It's not moving on. It's not processing their exes. It's not like whatever. They're always just talking about them. Like, oh, my ex did this. My ex did that. Not every conversation when they bring up their ex is like, my ex used to eat chocolate ice cream all the time. What the fuck are they processing there? They're just talking. They're bringing it up. That they're not they're just talking about them, not like conflicts or moving past.
I'm just
anything.
saying it's 2 out of 3. Put it in deal breaker. That's fine.
Yeah, no,
I'm just throwing out more commentary.
we said bad but manageable is the best case, but in general, it's
Yeah, and I agreed. I was just saying I would put it in bad but manageable, but I agreed.
all right. All right. Platypus, next category.
Anime fanatic. That's
Okay.
almost definitely going to be. I mean, it's at least kind of a good thing. Yeah, I mean, there's some bias, but that could be fun. But again, similar interests. I don't see how that's really going to be a bad thing unless it gets really creepy and weird. But any hobby can get creepy and weird. I think that's past the point of being a fanatic, like with the cars.
Yeah, that's past the fanatic thing. Well, we did put car fanatic at this is an issue. Question mark.
I'd put it as doesn't really matter. It may matter to some, but for most people, they may look at it as just another show, like someone being a geek of The Office or Walking Dead or whatever. It's their pastime. It's how they pass their pastime, their free time.
I don't know. I'm trying to think. Like I said, we have fanatic over there. Personally biased, also kind of a good thing. I like good anime, good stories. Something to watch each week or discuss. There's always some decent good ones that come out every season. Kind of a good thing. I'll vote with Platypus on this. Instead of this is an issue. Pepsi.
That doesn't really matter. I mean,
it's not awful.
Coca-Cola's better, but
what did you say? Chipotle is better? Coke is better? Coca-Cola. No, Pepsi's better than Coke.
I don't know about that.
We'll have this discussion later, but
Pepsi's not awful.
We'll put it at this is an issue and leave it there before we just get caught on a conversation about Coke's unhealthiness compared to Pepsi. Favorite holidays, Christmas. Favorite holidays, Halloween.
I don't see either of those are problems.
Yeah.
Even if you don't like the holidays, it's like, why does that matter?
I mean, if you don't like them, they do. It gives them joy, makes them happy, gives them something to look forward to, and oh, we're gonna decorate, or I'm gonna make some decorations or gifts or whatever. It's their joy. What's wrong with that? There's no harm in enjoying a favorite holiday.
Yeah, I'd say it's not an issue.
Yeah, Coke, deal breaker. Dr. Pepper, this is an issue. Root beer. Speak up if you have an issue with these.
No, I just don't
wait.
get...
These are all going into this is an issue question mark. Correct?
Yeah, why would people make these?
Just so the audience can follow along. Just
Oh yeah. Like, why is this even on the list to begin with?
Root beer is definitely. Hold on, root beer is definitely a good thing.
Yep.
If someone likes root beer, that's definitely a good thing.
Well, what about Dr. Pepper?
That'd be up there too. You were just moving too fast.
All right then. Root beer and Dr. Pepper are definitely good things. All right.
Any objections, Platypus?
None whatsoever.
All right, good. We're all in agreement there. All right. Natural color hair dye. So they dye their hair their natural color. So people will do this if they bleach their hair, because then it takes time for the color to come back, so they'll use their natural color as dye. That just implies that they've dyed their hair, or, maybe they're like, yeah, I'll just keep dyeing it, and they'll just mix colors, and they go with their natural color, go to something else. I'm not quite sure.
That's fine. That's not something I really care about.
It is a mess to take care of, apparently, but...
I'd say it doesn't really matter.
Doesn't really matter? Okay. Unnatural hair dye. Hair color.
Natural color hair dye.
Hasn't stopped me before.
It doesn't really matter. All right. Parents track their location.
Wait, is this for fully grown adults?
Yes. This isn't for
Deal
middle
breaker.
schoolers. This is for adults.
Like they're 35 and their parent 30 years senior is
I mean, if
still
we keep
tracking
if the more years we add, the more this goes up.
That's the easiest way of putting it.
I mean, if you're 62 and your parents are still tracking you, that's there's something going on. One, the fact that your parents are tech savvy enough to track you. Two, that you're 62 and your parents are tech savvier than you to keep track of you. Creates a lot of questions. We're not 62, but I say deal breaker.
Yep, that's unacceptable.
Yeah.
It's not just a deal breaker.
If your parents can't
Unacceptable.
if your
Wouldn't even
parents
walk in the door.
if your parents can't trust you, I don't know why I should. Now, obviously,
well,
if you have a
sometimes
helicopter,
there are parents that are very obsessive in helicopter, even if it's a young adult that's like 23 to 25. I understand that the kid may not always have control over it, but at the same time, if you're an adult, definitely post education and you have a job, if your parents are tracking you on your phone and stuff because you're still on the phone plan, honestly, you could get off the phone plan and get your own phone so they don't track you or something. And if they're threatening you with other stuff because you're going to get off their phone plan so they can't track you, then that's a different type of issue of relationships that needs to be discussed. It's probably not something that you should just jump into as a new relationship.
yeah, but I was going to say if they're also a helicopter parent, that could be a red flag for a different reason in terms of like going back to like lifestyle discussions or
Their viewpoints on the world, yeah.
yeah, that could be different kinds of red flags. So in either regard, whether good or bad, helicopter parent or they don't trust them, there's some red flags associated with both.
Okay. Let's see. Gold digger.
I like a hard-working partner.
I love Yay.
If they're bringing home the money.
I love Yay. That's not controversial, right? That's like one of 3 songs by Kanye that I enjoy.
Who?
Gold
Kanye.
digger.
Who? Yeah, I don't understand. I don't understand simple pop culture references. I'd say it's not often.
You think of gold diggers? We're not saying Kanye West is gold digger, the song itself. We're saying
we have the category.
That's a deal breaker. What? This is
yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, my bad. I wasn't paying attention. I was thinking of the song. I literally just was like, yeah, we're not talking about the song. Yeah, an actual gold digger, deal breaker. They most likely too egotistical, bunch of other problems they can't handle, they don't want to deal with. It's just a lot of problems that usually follow gold diggers, and they act like they're not the problem.
Let's take a pause.
Amen.
Yeah, believes astrology.
I mean, I guess there would always be the angle of, well, maybe the stars and the cosmos do have an impact, but like, I can't just accept that as fact. And I know how obsessive that some people can get with that, and that can be really annoying. So I guess it depends on how serious they are about astrology, because...
Well, they believe it.
Well, but if it's a type of person who's like, my horoscope says I'm going to have a shitty day today, and then...
I'm pretty sure that's what believes mean. I'm pretty sure when they say believe, it's not like they follow or they dabble or something. They believe astrology. They believe that this horoscope, this fortune cookie that I got from an American-made factory says I'm going to make a new friend tomorrow. I'm going to make a new friend tomorrow if my horoscope aligns with it.
Yeah, I don't care for that. Like, I can entertain it on some level, but once it gets to that level,
of just belief and this is their life.
Yeah.
A lot of it would be their attempt at a self-fulfilling prophecy. Then, I mean, obviously it's an external influence, but if they're acting on behalf of someone else's guidance in that regard, like some random, like you said, fortune cookie, I'd say that's bad but manageable. If you're living your life just by random happenstance of that nature, no.
I mean, there are plenty of people that follow astrology passionately. They're happily married. They have good relationships. It's not like a deal breaker. It's just definitely not for us.
No, that's why I said it's manageable. If that's the kind
Yeah.
of lifestyle you want to live or you can handle it, that's one thing. But that's not what many people want to
It's
deal with.
I'm not gonna lie, it's fun to just look at the horoscopes or different astrology things, like what certain times of the year mean or when you're born and all that stuff, and be like, oh, this is funny, this is interesting. Look how all of it's the same. But yeah, well, we'll leave it at that for the moment. All right, and next, believes rocks or crystals have powers. And
No.
What, you think this is worse than believes astrology?
It's in the same ballpark. Coming
Bad
from
but
someone who,
manageable.
like, yeah, like,
It's not.
I think
It's not harmful to have rocks and crystals and things like that.
yeah, they're cool.
It'd be
I
cool.
like
It's cool
rock.
decoration. I love rocks. I'll be honest. I love how rocks look. Geology was a passion of mine when I was younger. Geography and geology. I don't believe they have powers. Not entirely. You know, certain chemicals and stuff that people react differently around them. That's just science. But it's not like every rock or crystal can cure
Nah.
you. I do.
It's not
like
like
the-
it's not
those
like the
beef
Infinity
eggs.
Stones.
Yeah, I do have a friend who has told me that they sleep with a crystal because it actually helped stop them from having night terrors every night. That's something.
Wait a minute.
Say what?
This is I'm so not. I don't know how X-rated we're trying to get here, but when you say they sleep with a crystal, do you mean like they have a crystal on their nightstand, or is it like one of those Gwyneth Paltrow?
I believe it's
shade?
I believe it's on their nightstand, just a rock or a small crystal that just sits there next to them while they sleep.
Like a dream catcher. It's nearby.
Yeah, I think it's something like that. I'll have to ask again. I'm honest about this. This is what they told me. Because they used to have really bad night terrors and stuff, and then they did research and they got their mother got them one of these rocks or something. Their mom's not even a believer in it, but they got one of these after several different doctor stuff wasn't working, and then they stopped. Now they have normal dreams, or they don't dream, but they're not having nightmares or night terrors all the time anymore. So they have this rock or crystal all the time on their nightstand. So I don't see a harm in it. Usually it's just decoration. People aren't rubbing it up against themselves in the shower.
Leather.
They believe
Leather
it. They're
not
not. They believe it. They're not addicted to it or crazy. They just believe in that stuff.
Maybe that's how they heal.
And I'm not gonna knock anyone that does like it or it gives them happiness or they feel better about it. You know, it's like, what if they decorated the house with something else? Rocks. They're natural. There's nothing wrong with it. I would personally put in not awful. Platypus, you were saying bad but manageable?
I'd say not awful.
What about you, Platypus?
It's fine, just as long as it's not like extreme and we need to like meditate on a pile of amethysts before work every day.
Or before bed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you lay down not a bed of nails, but did you sleep well on your bed of asphalt? Asphalt's not a rock. What am I saying? I can't think of an actual rock right now.
You're clearly not a believer.
Exposed.
Yeah. Darn it. All right. Before
That's what this whole 2-part series was about, was exposing him for not being a believer of rocks and crystals having powers.
Speaking of belief, religious, and this just looks like it's misspelled. It is misspelled. Yeah.
Religious.
Oh, yeah, religious. This is an issue.
Religious. It's a Pokemon. Religious.
Yeah, there we go. I'd say this is an issue because they misspelt it. So as a proper grammar Nazi, I don't know what they're talking about here. Types in lowercase is fine, but, you know, misspelling words, I don't know what you're talking about. Where do you stand on this?
I don't really care, just as long as it's not like if you don't force your faith on anyone, that's that's really the biggest thing for me.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they're religious. They're not preaching it or forcing it. It's just that's just what they practice, what they believe. Doesn't really matter. Seems like an easy catch-all to put that into. If that's what people are into, good. If they're not, good. It's kind of like in that same scope of.
There's plenty of people that balance relationships for decades with different religious beliefs. It's really it's only an issue if you need to make it an issue.
It comes down to just effective communication. That's all it is, and knowing boundaries. So, are we all agreeing? Doesn't really matter. Kind of a good thing. Definite good thing. What?
Doesn't really matter.
Doesn't matter. Okay. Vans.
We're talking about the cars,
like
right?
the shoes.
Yeah, hold on a second. Are we talking about cars or shoes? I'm assuming they mean shoes because it's a capital V.
A lot of these things are capitalized, even if they're not. Religious was capitalized.
Like sex is capitalized, but yeah.
Sex addict? Yeah, well, why else would it? Never mind. I can't think of a joke. I'll stop talking. Vans.
If it's shoes, it's not an issue. If it's automobiles, I'd say it doesn't really matter.
That means they are ready for a family.
Yeah. Or they're ready to move. They've got, they're already planned for the future. They've got something where they know they're going to need a vehicle that can hold their
Anyone
stuff.
who drives a van is somewhat prepared for the future. Whether it's to have a family or something else, they're prepared for it.
Or to help a stranded family on the side of the road.
Yeah, even if people go out, most people don't go out and buy a brand new van. But even if they did, that's clearly some forward thinking. That's just not a car people that are like, yeah, yo, look at my garage. I got 6 new 2023 eight-seaters.
Kia Sorento XL with the fold down seats.
Sunroof.
I'll play devil's advocate. What if you were a parent and your daughter's boyfriend comes to pick her up in a creepy looking jacked up white van?
That means their parents are raising them well. They're making them get a van
they
and
have
drive
a
around
vehicle.
in humility. They're making them drive
They
around.
have a vehicle to drive around in.
Yeah,
that
they're making them be
promise.
humble. They probably are taking care of it the best they can, that individual. They're not trashing it.
I asked the wrong people this
Yeah, you
question.
definitely asked the wrong people. You remember I used to drive the candy van to school and give out candy.
That's what
Yep,
the
I might have been a
teachers,
part of that
called
once.
it.
Oh, yeah, you were
That's
part of
what
that.
the teachers called it.
Yeah. Yeah, we had teachers and coaches calling it the candy van, too. So I'm biased to this. So this is an issue, question mark? I don't think so.
I'd say it doesn't really matter. Oh, wait, yeah, if it's the shoes, this is not an issue.
I'm going to say this is about shoes. Because the
Shoes
next one is sneaker or shoe collection.
I have problems with neither.
I'll say not awful. That's going to take up a lot more space than a rock fucker.
Well, that depends on their collection. Like Hank, Breaking Bad.
If you have a collection, I doubt it's 2 items. They probably have a dozen or something. That's going to take up a lot more space in closet.
Are they wearing them or just buying them?
Most
and keeping
people
them?
that have a collection, we know a couple people. It just sits there. It just is not used. It just sits there. Took some heavy.
It's not awful.
I mean, honestly, I prefer to look at a rock than a shoe sitting on a shelf or in a box.
I mean, I would agree with that myself.
Most people, again, it's a collection. If they're wearing all the shoes, fine by me. That doesn't matter. Kind of a good thing. They're using what they're paying for. They're getting joy out of it, all that stuff. But because it's a collection, typically people don't play with their collections. Toys, games, whatever. It's just it sits there, it looks pretty. Look at all the colors on the shelf. It's not awful. It just definitely takes some communication or organizational skills.
And most collections aren't Guinness World Record size. They're not taking up 6 bedrooms
and they
worth of space.
they could be passion projects. Simple as that. That's not an issue.
I'd say it's not awful.
Yeah. So next is vegan.
Oh, that's a deal breaker right there.
Just keep your cheese the fuck away from me.
Vegan cheese is off. Vegan meat, I'm okay with vegan meat.
at college they had the vegan station. I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
even realize I was eating vegan food sometimes.
No, in the last year at the university, yeah, I was like, man, I'm tired of eating all this butter-soaked grease and fried stuff all the time, and I was like, I really need something healthy in my stomach. So if I didn't go to the salad, I would go to the vegan bar and just get like a vegan sandwich or like just
Salmon, whatever it
whatever
was,
they were
yeah.
cooking. I was like, this is so fucking good. It's so much healthier. My stomach feels better rather than just eating like fried chicken and shit every day, twice a day. And it wasn't fried chicken. They changed up the menu. Like they had 2 weeks of food that were rotated. So, and it was often good entrees and stuff I would eat, but I'd also get a side or another plate of the vegan stuff, which was healthier, typically fresher. You know, I was like, this just sits better in my stomach.
Well, also, don't forget there's a difference between vegetarian and vegan.
Yeah, I
Vegan is
know.
entirely against animal product. No, I'm also just reminding
No,
for
yeah, I know. That
listeners.
also means clothes and stuff for how
Yeah.
things are produced. Yeah, that's good
So
clarification for
it
the
is a
audience.
lifestyle mentality. So if you can't live with someone who's like that, or if they're trying to impose it on you because they're so passionate about that, that could certainly cause problems.
But if they are okay with it for themselves and not with it,
Yeah, if it's strictly
yeah.
personal, I would say it's not awful.
If it doesn't
may come
impact
to
you as an individual or the togetherness of what you guys interact with, that's fine.
It may affect your finances, but in terms of like living your lifestyle, it may not cause too much if you aren't imposing it or making it a problem.
So where do you guys?
That's why I'd say it's not awful.
Where do you guys put that?
I mean, I don't care much. I'm just trying not to make a Scott Pilgrim joke. Just eat it, whatever.
Yeah. Because vegan is more of a lifestyle than vegetarian, I'll say bad but manageable. Typically, if you're vegan, you're more passionate about it. You're going to kind of want to enforce your beliefs onto the relationship of what you guys can and can't do or eat. If they're not forcing it, that's good, but I'm going to say because of the passion usually and the vice or the commitment to it, it might be tough for the relationship if you're not fully on board with it as a partner. Addicted to the gym, as a fellow TikTok friend that we have, is also this.
So wait, Platypus. Going back, sorry, did you say it was bad? Where did you list it? I don't remember.
I don't really care. I personally don't have anything against veganism, but I mean, I'm not like I wouldn't practice it myself.
So not
I don't
awful
know
then.
put that for me. Yeah.
All right, my bad. Addicted to gym.
That, I mean, if it's an
addicted.
addiction, then it's a problem.
Yeah. Not awful. I mean, it is a healthier addiction, but it can still be a problem if they're spending 5 hours in the gym.
At least you'll be able to bounce a quarter off their ass. I don't know.
While doing a backflip.
Yeah, I mean,
not awful, bad but manageable.
Maybe not awful.
They're living that gym life of protein shakes all day, every day.
Actually, this is sounding more and more shitty.
Well, how's this? Let's do a comparison. How's this different from someone who's like a marathon runner? They go out and practice running 2-3 hours a day.
Because they're choosing to run marathons. They're not sitting in a gym for 3 hours to get those gains.
But you say it's a healthy lifestyle. You say it's a healthy lifestyle. So is the marathon runner. So is someone who goes swimming for a few hours a day or hiking. Someone who goes out for a weekend hike or camping all the time.
A marathon runner typically doesn't go run a marathon every day or twice a day of the week. The marathon runner will be done in the day. That's it.
If the gym bro's doing it right, he's not bench pressing every day. You're making a
I know they work on different muscle sets. It's very easy to stick to a curriculum where 7 days a week you have 7 different muscle groups you're tackling, or groups of them typically in pairs. That's not difficult. I'm saying it's not awful. It's just addicted to the gym is a healthier addiction to have. It could get carried away. Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I'm having trouble rationalizing putting it in the bad but manageable section as opposed to not awful.
Yeah, we'll put it
not
awful.
That's where my conflict is.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So next is stuffed animals.
Definitely a good thing.
I say doesn't really matter. Platypus?
Big
I'd say it
difference.
doesn't really matter.
No,
Now
it
I'll
doesn't.
admit, I have a couple plushies from some YouTubers or whatever. They made some really cool icon pillow plush thing, and I'm like, oh, that's cool decoration pillow, or an actual like stuffed animal, like a frog in a suit. But I don't have a problem with it. It's typically just decoration. Just
Look,
yeah,
I would, if I'm in favor of someone having taxidermy, I'm in favor of someone having a stuffed animal. They're both the same, just with different material.
or the same. Anyways, weed. I love someone who's good at cutting their lawn.
That's a definite good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, avoid those neighborhood fines and HOA fees.
Yeah, Platypus, you like cutting your lawn?
Yeah, they're going green, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Kind of a
Keep
good
it fresh.
thing. Doesn't
Well-
really matter.
Well, what's funny is we know you're not a vegan, so you certainly don't care about mowing your lawn. You don't care about the plant's life.
Where do you guys put it?
Either doesn't really matter or kind of a good thing.
I'll put it at doesn't really matter personally, just because I know for a lot of people it may matter. But there's also many people who may in some capacity need it.
Yeah, I'll put it doesn't really matter. Personally, I don't
It's
care if you use
it's
it.
situation. To me, I look at it very situational.
Yeah, as long as it's not an addiction or excessive and like being used all day, go have fun. There's not too much harm with it if you use it right. Alcohol.
Same thing. Same deal. I mean, it's not a bad thing unless you make it a bad thing.
I
Well-
say not awful. Personal bias. I don't drink anymore. It is technically a drug.
It's the oldest drug.
Yes, it is also for the longest time the only way people could have clean water. We've discussed this. It was
That's
safer.
the-
It was safer to drink alcohol than the water, for a long time.
Most of human history.
If people are responsible with it, or they do it at home only, they have it to enjoy movies or game night or be out with friends, and again they're responsible with it. There's no problem with that at all. I don't have a problem with people drinking. Most people can kind of handle it or tolerate themselves. Excessive drinking is obviously a problem. Drinking and driving is a problem, etc. I put it not awful.
I'm of consensus. I would say not awful. Like any of these things, in excess it can get worse, but just on its own.
You do know when
The,
someone drinks
the
alcohol.
average person, the average person just having themselves a drink here and there, going out with friends and family,
But
that's fine.
someone
Yeah.
having alcohol or consuming it just comes with the connotation of now we have to put in some extra steps beforehand to take care of this, make sure things don't go out of control, make sure we have things prepped, etc. Just that's it. Just requires more awareness or planning.
Also, if you do it right, it's a great cleaning agent, so it's not really that bad.
Yeah, I used it to clean my bathtub the other day, literally. Anyways, next. Platypus. No, where's Matt? Oh, no, never mind. We haven't aired that episode. Matt's not here. Now, out of context, that sounds weird. People are going to be like, wait, Matt has a foot fetish? No. Not explicitly. Anyways.
It's not a thing.
Say
I
what?
don't I don't really shame fetishes or anything. That's not my cup of tea. I just, that's not for me. I don't find feet sexy, but that doesn't have to be a problem.
I have no idea how people find a foot sexy. Good for them if that's what they enjoy. But it's a fetish. That means they prioritize the feet and sexify the foot over the person or the individual.
Nothing like seeing the hair wrapped around the toes and the toenails.
Got that gangrene.
Hangnail. Oh,
dirty white Air Force Ones.
Wait, where did we put the foot fetish?
Foot fetish, I said, doesn't really matter. Are we putting it like not awful? What?
I'm sorry, I'm just stuck on the new category.
Yeah. Where are we putting foot fetish, Platypus? Not awful? Doesn't really matter?
doesn't really matter. I
All right.
mean,
Dirty white Air Force Ones. Platypus, you want to explain this?
I mean, I guess the principle of having a nice clean white shoe that's supposed to be clean and white, and then you fucked it up and you don't care and you're showing that to everyone, like that's not really a good look. But I mean, if we're being reasonable,
then there's the all black Air Force Ones. How are we gonna put this duo up?
Well, so by definition, if you have black Air Force Ones and you are a supervillain, there's like no in between. You're up to some shady shit.
There's a YouTuber that makes a tier list of black Air Force Ones anime characters. Certified villain. Anyways, yeah, this is a founding father. Where do you put these? Because obviously it's about style and again about appearance or the image you're trying to get off.
Not awful for
both.
Nah, I mean, I don't know, how serious are you trying to treat this?
As serious as you want. This is our tier list.
True.
Someone that wants to be a certified villain just sounds a bit narcissistic. It's whatever. And for me, shoes are shoes. So, you know.
I'd say the dirty white Air Force Ones are in the same as the
I'd rather they clean it a little bit.
Subpar hygiene.
It's like have a care.
Yeah, have a little bit of care because it's obviously you can spot it that it's dirty. You can try and clean it a little bit. It's not like it's a stain, but
yeah. So I would say it's not awful.
Yeah, you knew what you signed up for when you got white shoes.
We went.
Yeah. Going off that segue, all black Air Force Ones would be a definite good thing. You know what you're getting into.
when Orik and I went on a trip to Europe in high school, we found a Swatch store in Germany, and this one kid with us got a white Swatch, and like less than 5 minutes after walking outside, he tripped into a puddle and stuff and scratched it and got it dirty. Everyone else got these colorful ones, and he got an all white one. He's like, "Look how crisp this looks," and then just immediately fucked it up. I was like,
I've never heard of someone tripping and getting their watch dirty.
Because like several people, me included, like spent a decent amount of money to get a Swatch in high school. That's a decent amount of money. Definitely cheaper, but that was funny. I always remember that. Chunky fila. Okay, obviously I don't know if it says filas.
That means, I forget. Doesn't that mean you're like for the streets or something?
I have no idea.
I gotta look this one up.
Yeah, I don't know why I said. We'll come back to that anyways while Orik looks it up. Always wearing a hat or beanie. This is an issue.
That's not really a problem.
Yeah, this isn't an issue. That's personal choice, what they're comfortable with wearing. They like wearing hats, whether they have hair or not. That's up to them. That's their style. Posting to story while leaving you undelivered.
That's not a good look. I mean, there could be good reasons for it, but if that's happening consistently...
This sounds like a pattern. If you have to mention this, it sounds like a pattern.
Yeah.
Not awful or bad but manageable?
Bad but manageable, maybe. I mean, it depends on the frequency and...
So again, we're talking about like early stages of dating. Like you're just getting to know each other. Maybe first date, maybe third date. And they've done it a couple times now where you've noticed that this is a pattern.
And, it's kind of annoying. I'd still put bad but manageable.
Yeah, I would too.
Oh, okay. So chunky filas. Sorry.
You're good.
If you do a very quick Google search, it's a type of shoe, fila, and it's like thick. It's like hot. It's like you get an extra inch of sole to stand on.
Oh, okay.
That's where the chunky comes from.
Oh, whatever those are called, yeah.
Dad sneakers.
Yeah.
Ugly sneakers, whatever the term is.
This is an issue. It goes with the Vans. Right? You guys agree with that?
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
All right. And Orik, we put posting to story while leaving you undelivered and bad but manageable. Because, again, this is like you've been on a couple dates with them, and they've done this a few times now where you've messaged them.
Wait. Posting to story while leaving you undelivered?
You don't do
I don't get
social
that.
media. That means like to Facebook or to Instagram. They just say read your message and then they go and do their social media stuff before talking to you.
Oh yeah, no, I get that. It was not clicking because I see it all the time at work. You see that someone read it, but they didn't respond. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all it is. And then they did something
Yeah, that
in
little
public,
that little delivered check mark. Yeah, I got that. Yeah.
and then they do something on social media that shows that they're available, and they chose to do something else. So
Where'd you leave
mullet,
that? Where did you leave that one?
We put that
Mullets
in
are
bad but
ugly.
manageable for posting.
Yeah. Okay.
Mullet. What'd you say, Platypus?
Mullets are ugly.
Ugly. There's some good comedians with mullets.
But
There's a
when-
completely different point from what you said about them being
name
ugly.
Name one.
Name
Go
one?
on, Dean. Yeah, name one.
Didn't Jeff Foxworthy have one for a bit?
Yeah, but
Yeah,
when that
There's some internet comedians also that have mullets.
Oh, you know what? I was thinking of mutton chops. You're right.
Yeah.
I
mean, those aren't great either.
I mean, technically, don't a lot of women have mullets?
No.
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 No, I'm trying to force my beliefs onto others right there. Yeah, they don't have mullets.
This is what we're talking about. We don't need those to come back.
So
They kind of are.
So
what I've heard, they're coming back.
So it doesn't really apply to us. Almost, I don't know any woman that's ever had a mullet. But if your gentleman has a mullet, that might lead to questions. That might be bad but manageable, or
I'd say not awful.
I'd say not awful. It's just a style choice.
Ugh.
Yeah. Have you guys? Side note: have you guys seen those pictures of babies with mullets?
Nope. Thankfully. See life ruined at such a young age.
Yeah, there's a lot of pictures out there. People they let
All right.
their 2-3-year-old out. Now I'm not talking wigs. I'm talking like natural.
Yeah. All right. Next one is misspelt. It's the famous bowl cut. They typed
What
it
is that?
or is that an actual haircut? B-U-L-L. Bowl cut is B-U-W-L because what happens
B-O-W-L, not B-U-W-L.
What did I say?
You said bowl cut is B-U-W-L.
My bad. No, I meant grammar Nazi here. Bowl cut, I was looking at the U. B-O-W-L is because they put the bowl over a kid's head, cut around the rim, and that's their haircut.
Give them the Will Byers.
Yeah. If there's a thing such as a bowl cut, B-U-L-L, I don't know what that is. But an actual bowl cut, that's just funny. There's one famous music artist that has it, Oliver Tree. But otherwise, it's usually just for the memes and stuff. Do you prefer a mullet or a bowl cut?
Jesus.
We put mullet, not awful. Are we saying a bowl cut is on par with that style choice or worse? Usually a bowl cut, you don't have say over it. Most adults don't have a bowl cut. That's usually a child thing or a younger thing. So if they still have one as an adult, either they chose it, they lost a bet, or their parents still cut their hair. Or they cut their hair and they chose to do it that way. Either way, that's still something to consider.
The only reason I like bowl cuts is when you have someone with bowl cut and muffin chops.
A bowl cut with mutton chops?
Yeah, that's actually pretty cool looking. But
That
beyond
sounds
that,
lazy,
I'd say
like they stopped halfway. Even though it's not what mutton chops are, that just kind of gives off that impression, like, we'll get it later.
But otherwise, I'd say it's not awful.
Not awful.
I mean, that might be a...
I'll just say now,
I'm going to sound that superficial, but it might be a deal breaker.
Deal breaker. All right.
Well, yeah, if I'm starting to date someone and they have a freshly made bowl cut for that first date, I can see why you'd say that's a deal breaker. Like, that's how they chose to show up for the date.
Yeah, exactly. Again, this is a choice as an adult. A bowl cut. A mullet, they could just be a bit lazy. They maybe can't grow out bangs that well, whatever. Bowl cut is intentional as an adult. There's no reason to accidentally have a bowl cut as an adult.
Your barber messes up. grabs you by the head and says, "All right, hold
The
still."
only accident is if you woke up because of a prank or a bet that you lost from your friends. That's the only, but that's still a reason. It's not an accident.
It's not like those people who shave their head in solidarity with someone going through chemotherapy. No one in solidarity goes through a bowl cut.
Yeah, so middle part hair. I had a roommate that used to do this, not gonna lie. He also wore a sleeve on his head as a hat. He would cut off the sleeves on his t-shirts and he would just use the sleeves as hair. He had really long hair, so if he didn't have the sleeve on, he would part it in the middle. I think it's better than a mullet. It's actually a popular trend right now.
That's kind of hot.
This is an issue. Doesn't really. It's a style choice. I would say this is an issue.
It doesn't look bad style right now.
It's not a bad look, exactly. Anyone that looks at a mullet can be like, why? Anyone that looks at a bowl cut asks, what happened? But if you look at a middle part hair, God bless whoever wrote this, middle hair part, you're like, that's just how they chose to part the hair. Maybe that's where their seam, not seam.
That's how a lot of people's hair falls in the first place.
Exactly.
So I'd say it doesn't really matter. It's not an issue.
Yeah, this is an issue. Next, we get to some music finally. Rock, metal, or alternative fan?
I'd say that's a good thing or not an issue.
A little bit biased. I say kind of a good thing. They're a fan of it. I'm a fan of that kind of music.
Yeah, I would say the same for like the next two. Exactly.
Any type of rap fan, you say is kind of a good thing?
Yeah.
That includes like mumble rap.
I was about to say.
Sure. I mean, they could at least maybe have an appreciation for like the DJs and producers that were on. I mean,
okay, yeah, because rap is more than just the lyrics. I can understand that. Okay.
Yeah. At least in my case, I follow like a lot of producers and DJs too, so I'll
that makes sense.
For them. Yeah,
I do like rap music typically more for the beats and the melodies and that kind of stuff rather than the lyrics usually. So
I'm an instrumental person, so I don't.
Yeah.
Like I'll listen to a song. I'll sing along with every single note, and then when someone's like, "You know what those lyrics are?" I was like, "No, what?"
So then there's pop music fan, country music fan. We're just putting that at kind of a good thing. They like music. Simple.
It's a form of expression. I'd say that's kind of a good thing.
Everyone has a country song that speaks to them. As weird as it sounds, everyone's got a song. They just haven't found it yet. Just haven't met you yet. That's not country.
Bad at driving.
That's not good, no matter how you look at it.
Deal breaker.
What is the good of that?
Actually, let's rephrase some of these. What's the good thing about being bad at driving? Well, they'll pay for someone to get an Uber or get someone else to drive them. So they're dependable on others. They'll never leave you because they probably don't run away. I'm just convincing myself. Hold on a second. No, is that a deal breaker for everyone? Now, I think at best it's bad but manageable because some people just really don't want to drive or deal with it, or just maybe it's too much stress for them to have to deal with medically or whatever. But typically, I think that's especially in this world, a deal breaker if you don't have. If you live in the city, not a lot of people drive in the city. They can just walk to their stores and stuff, so they may not have to learn how to drive.
True.
Oh.
I'll put it in bad but manageable just because of that insight.
Yeah, that's what I was going to list it as bad but manageable because it's also situational. If you have like, there's people that pay per mile for their insurance, so if you just don't have to drive but once a week or most, you're not exactly going to be keeping your skills up.
And they don't have to be the best to get to where they need to go. They don't. It's not like they crash all the time. It's just they're not.
You just stay in the slow lane, keep your distance, turn on your blinkers. Yeah.
I'll let them drive me to the hospital in an emergency. So.
That's the good of it. Yeah, that's the good I was looking for.
Where's the good? Bad but manageable. You will rely on them if needed. They're just not the best.
You agree with that, Platypus?
Yeah, that works for me.
Next is anger issues.
That's
like
not
when
good.
Platypus constantly denies my advances that I don't make towards him.
Exactly. This is toxic. It's,
Toxic my ass. Toxic your ass.
see?
Shut
I don't
up.
know.
Let's say, maybe, that's probably like bad but manageable.
Yeah, it's not a deal breaker yet. They're not like assaulting or anything, but it's definitely something where that requires communication, boundaries, and a lot of communication, but thorough discussion and figuring out why. If they don't want to address it or anything, then it's probably goes into a deal breaker. But if it's just anger issues and they're aware they have anger issues, that means they're open to the idea of resolving it at some point or addressing it at some point, even if they don't like it.
Yeah, I agree for the most part about it being bad but manageable. The only reason I mean, obviously anything in excess is bad, especially with anger issues. But if they have like a general problem where they can watch the Teletubbies and break out with anger, that's a deal breaker. That's more than anger issues.
Anyone that gets mad at Teletubbies is a deal breaker.
Yeah, immediately.
If you're not laughing while watching it, that's also a deal breaker.
Or scared, laughing or scared. If you're angry, there's a deal breaker.
Yeah. Scared, I will accept scared. Plenty of kids get scared. Uggs.
I don't see how that's a problem.
It's like Vans and the other stuff. It's just whatever. It's a style choice. It's a stupid
I thought you
one.
said Uggs like the dog.
No. Uggs. Like if people want it, people like it, go ahead. I think they're like meh, stupid, but whatever. Everyone has a different style choice. My style is definitely not the best.
I was gifted some Ugg slippers once, and they were pretty great, I can't lie.
Oh, okay, cool. So what, is this an issue?
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
And then, like, yeah, let's go with that category.
All right. What do we got next?
Gaslighting.
I hate that word. Whatever. That's not a good thing, though.
I always think about it when I literally fill up my car, and I know it doesn't mean that, but
yeah. I mean, if they're trying to piss you off, egg you on, that type of deal, it's like, why are you even here?
Why are we doing this?
Gaslighting's a deal breaker.
Yeah, it's very manipulative.
It goes back to that manipulation thing we use for a lot of the options in the deal breaker, the guilt tripping, controlling, constantly puts you down.
No, that falls hand in hand with constantly making you feel dumb. They're taking what you know and they're like questioning it and being like, no, you're just wrong about that. Yeah. Deal breaker, manipulative. Nothing good really comes out of it. Unless you're like really trying to do a very good surprise party. No.
It's vegan Teletubby themed.
All right. Last one on the list. Probably the best one on the list. Salt and vinegar chips.
That's definitely a good thing.
Definitely a good thing.
Definitely a good thing.
Good. No discussion there. Okay. I have burned my tongue more times than I have fingers on my hand. I said that right. With salt and vinegar chips. I have an addiction, kind of like those vanilla wafers. I have an addiction with salt and vinegar chips at times. So I will eat a whole bag in one sitting, and then I don't eat it for like 4 months.
You can have an addiction to salt and vinegar chips, and it doesn't turn into a bad but manageable thing. Same with root beer and Dr. Pepper. Those aren't things that become bad but manageable or deal breakers.
Yeah, exactly.
Just become cute.
All right. Well, that's the end of the list. That was, 110 items, I believe? Excessive.
Roughly.
Yeah. We're not going to word vomit and repeat everything on the list again. So instead, we'll just kind of like, I guess, summarize the categories if you guys are cool with that.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. So example, what does it generally mean to be in deal breaker? Orik.
As we've been repeating time and time again, it's usually manipulative stuff. It's disrespectful. It's not downplaying, but it's belittling of others.
These are the types of people that don't respect you as an individual or don't even see you as an individual in their life. You're just kind of there, an object.
You're just an object. You're just another step in the road. bad but manageable are they're basically people that have to get their life in order. It doesn't mean that they're like at bottom's end. Someone who believes in astronomy and has a bowl cut, they just have to get things figured out. They got something going on in the background or in the foreground, but either way, there's
or all
something
around.
going on.
Or
Yeah,
all
all
around.
around. But for the most part, they just have to get something in order, or maybe they're already in the process of recovering, and they just have to be kept on that track.
Yeah, I'd say that you can see the climb to what they want to be. They're working on it. Platypus, what are your thoughts on Not Awful? We got a lot of your stuff in there for sure.
Yeah, so that's more along the lines of like, don't really care for the things in these category, or in this category, but if it's there, you could either forget about it or just kind of move on. And it might be something understandable, like trust issues. At least I kind of get that. It's like you don't know what they've been through. Trust issues can cause friction. It's not like crazy or unreasonable up to a certain point.
Especially since it's the beginning of the dating game. This isn't a long-term relationship where you're discussing these things happening. This is like what you're picking up right when you start talking. Yeah.
You see them walk in with that mullet, there's something.
They walk into the first date, start calling you bae and stuff. That requires some discussion. Like, why are they way too friendly or ready for that kind of progression? Not everyone is like that. Some people are. Some people are just comfortable like that. So, yeah. This is an issue we're not going to discuss. These are things that shouldn't even be on the list. Band Kid, Uggs. These are just like choices. Yeah. Doesn't really matter. Platypus, thoughts again? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good. I mean, that's really about as neutral as it gets. Like, I mean, very first item there, they like The Office. I mean, a lot of people like The Office. They enjoy a show. Like, I don't really care if you like a show. I have shows that I like. Pretty much anything in this category is just going to be inoffensive or harmless. Like, it doesn't matter.
It's like it's an identity choice, kind of. Yeah, it's just something that gives them comfort, or it's just their little quirks, or what makes them unique.
Yo.
And then we got kind of a good thing and definitely a good thing. These are definitely our biases, but it's like entertainment purposes, like DC fans and Marvel fans. There's comics, there's movies, there's a bunch of stories, arcs, character developments, and that kind of stuff. Tons and tons of avenues for what you can research. There's no real harm in it. Those communities are pretty wholesome typically. Same with the music fans. The music is just expression of identity. None of us have an issue with any of these types of music. It's just expression.
Yeah.
And then definitely a good thing, Dr. Pepper can't be beat, root beer can't be beat, and salt and vinegar chips. They'll destroy your mouth.
If I'm having a first date with someone and they order that, whether at lunch or dinner or even breakfast, it's going to be really hard for me to not enjoy being with them.
Yeah.
For that meal.
Yeah. All right. Sounds like a good list. The official. Well, actually, we're not done yet. Who wants to use their golden buzzer? Anyone got any things they don't agree with on this list? Do you think a bowl cut is definitely a good thing, Orik or Platypus? Even though we spent a lot of time discussing why it's not. Anyone have their golden buzzer they want to use before we wrap it up, I guess?
Yeah. I know we talked about it briefly, but I just can't stand the idea that Pepsi is not an issue. I'm deciding where. At least not awful. I might put it in bad but manageable.
Pepsi, not Coke.
Coke,
Yeah,
So I'll just to be polite, because I know it's still a very popular drink. I'll put Pepsi in not awful, but it's barely above the bad but manageable tier. Like if I see someone order a root beer, I'm gonna be happy to talk to them. If they order a Pepsi, and they actively ask, "Are these Pepsi or Coke products?" Pepsi. Ooh, oh boy, give me a Pepsi. That's bad but manageable.
I feel very targeted.
There's a reason.
That's exactly. You've seen that's a direct attack on me. You've seen that's what I do at restaurants.
Yes.
Okay.
So those kind of people are bad but manageable. I still deal with them over the years, but
All right. Platypus, do you have any non-controversial, non-targeting, non-offensive golden buzzer moments?
Yeah,
Oh, not anymore.
people named Dean are really awful.
Pepsi talk is over. Platypus.
No, I think I'm all right with
You're
things
cool
as they are now.
Everything on the list?
I mean, more or less. There's nothing on there anyway that's off enough that I feel like I need to intervene.
It doesn't have to be
I
off
had
enough.
to.
It could just be slightly off. For example, my
Yeah,
golden
I
buzzer.
had
I'm putting
like Pepsi.
smoking and deal breaker, the very first item on the list that I said I would do, and nothing changed my mind. I'm putting smoking and deal breaker. You smoke, you're out. You lose your sense of smell first. Everything smells like you. Everything smells like it. It takes forever to get the stains out. It's expensive. It's a horrible addiction to break. Etc. You're taking years off your life. It's just like one of the worst addictions you can have.
Wait,
and it impacts others. And smoking makes me sick. Secondhand smoking, it makes me nauseous directly. So it's just an all-around deal breaker that I'm moving in a deal breaker. Even though it was bad but manageable, I only moved it a little bit. You got anything like that, Platypus?
Well, where did we put the hygiene one again? I forget.
Hiking.
Subpar hygiene is not awful.
Subpar hygiene or hiking?
Hygiene, like
hygiene.
cleanliness.
Yeah, we put subpar hygiene at not awful.
I guess that's fine. I'm tempted to move it up, but maybe I'm just imagining like a higher level of filth.
If you want to move it up, move it up. Yeah, that's what your buzzer's for. We can't argue with it. Make your choice.
I might as well move it up. Leave
Bad but manageable?
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Wash your armpits.
So none of us boosted something to say it's a good thing. None of us said gaslighting is definitely a good thing. We just knocked things down again. So
yes, keeping it negative.
Yeah. It is a red flags tier list. They're not supposed to be good things.
If it weren't for the Pepsi, I was really tempted to put bowl cut in like kind of a good thing, because that also means they have the confidence to walk around with a bowl cut.
Very true. Very true.
Or they're disillusioned and they really don't know better.
Or they're blind. And they just said, give me the usual.
If you're walking into your barber every couple 2, 3, even 4 months, and you're like, "Hey, Jimmy, I'll have the usual," and they go into the kitchen cabinet in the back room for where they make lunch, they toss the salad leaves out and put it on your head. And if you're comfortable, you're comfortable.
That would be the only thing I would raise up with like a passion.
I can agree. The confidence is noteworthy. It's funny. Being comfortable like that. Did we lose your Platypus?
Sorry, you kind of did for a second. I won't lie to you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we were just joking about the bowl cut still. So.
My bad. I'm down to keep shitting on bowl cuts if that's what we're doing here.
Nah, we're done right now. After my salad bowl analogy, I ran out of steam.
We'll do that next episode.
Fair enough. Well, I guess since we're done talking shit about bowl cuts, I think maybe we could go ahead and stop things here at a pretty productive tier list. I think that covers it all. So, thanks everybody for tuning in. We're really glad you're here. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And remember, this is Unfiltered Pineapple. It's Platypus. I'm joined here with Dean and Orik, and I think that's all we got for today.
Yeah. We'll save the image and share it on our socials for anyone that wants to review it.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. See you later.